Welcome to the Get Fit Guy's quick and dirty tips to slim down and shape up. My name is Ben Greenfield, and I'm the Get Fit Guy. So, this week, a Copenhagen City Heart study was released that showed regular jogging will increase the life expectancy of men by 6.2 years and women by 5.6 years. Suddenly, fitness blogs, TV shows, and magazines all over the place trumpeted the news that running will make you live longer. But does running really make you live longer, or is it bad for you? Well, in this episode, you'll learn whether or not it's actually healthy to take up the sport of running. Back in the 1970s, after a few men died while out on a run, various news outlets suggested that jogging might be too strenuous for ordinary middle-aged people. Just a few years later, in 1976, the Copenhagen City Heart study, which I'll link to in the show notes, began as a cardiovascular study of about 20,000 men and women between 20 to 93 years old. This study explored incidents of heart failure, pulmonary disease, allergies, epilepsy, dementia, and other diseases in relation to different forms of exercise and other lifestyle factors. For the running part of the study, the mortality of 1,116 male joggers and 762 female joggers was compared to the non-joggers. Results showed that over 35 years, 10,158 deaths were registered among the non-joggers and 122 deaths among the joggers. That's pretty significant, and that's not all. Further analysis revealed a U-shaped curve for the relationship between time spent exercising and mortality. So this revealed that the optimum amount of time to run for increasing your lifespan was between 1 hour and 2.5 hours per week over 2 to 3 sessions. So that comes out to about 30 to 60 minutes per running session for 2 to 3 sessions a week. In addition, a self-reported slow or average pace delivered more benefits than a hard and fast pace. But wait a minute. What about famous runners and marathoners you've perhaps heard of who have died of sudden heart attacks while out on a run? These would include running legends like Jim Fixx, Alberto Salazar, Alain Takali, several runners in the world-famous Comrades Marathon, and most recently, ultra-runner Micah True. Each of these athletes appears to have died while running, which certainly seems to suggest that running may actually not make you live longer. Well, Dr. Peter Skåner, who is a Danish researcher who is part of the Copenhagen City Heart Study, puts it like this. When it comes to the relationship between running and living longer, the relationship appears much like alcohol intake. Mortality is lower in people who reported moderate jogging than in non-joggers or those undertaking extreme levels of exercise. You should aim to feel a little breathless during your workout, but not very breathless. In other words, too much running or running too much at a hard pace may actually be dangerous for you, while moderate amounts of easy to moderately difficult jogging appears to significantly extend your life. The professional and advanced marathoners mentioned earlier were exercising at a volume and intensity that far exceeds any studies that have shown exercise to lengthen your life. And while their heart attacks may certainly have simply been isolated cases due to a genetic heart abnormality or coronary artery disease, there's plenty of evidence to show that exercise can be stressful to the heart, especially in endurance athletes. And I'll link to some of that research in the show notes. Although it's lighter than a professional marathon's training schedule, the advanced marathoner training schedule for example, the ING New York City Marathon, which I happen to be competing in, if you care to join me, involved 50 to 70 miles of running per week and several two-a-day hard workout sessions. Frankly, even an amateur runner preparing for a marathon is in most cases far exceeding the volume of running performed in the study that I mentioned earlier, and it may be necessary to make some modifications to a running program so that it actually doesn't become too dangerous. Now, as I mentioned in an article that I wrote, which I'll also link to, called Top 10 Reasons Exercise is Bad for You, and that I also alluded to in the episode Should You Run Every Day? This advice is not simply limited to runners. It should be heeded by anyone who's exercising with a combination of high volume and high intensity, because this type of exercise training requires things like large amounts of dietary carbohydrates or sugar. causes significant increases in your stress hormone cortisol, causes muscle damage and inflammation, and creates a lot of free radicals. So now that you know that light to moderate amounts of running can make you live longer, but too much running or running too hard might be dangerous for you, should you quit your rigorous 5K, 10K, half marathon, or marathon training routine? Well, not exactly. Just use these 5 quick and dirty tips to ensure that you're giving your body proper rest and recovery and not training too much. Number 1, eat right. When you're exercising extensively, your body produces lots of potentially damaging free radicals, which can be good in moderation, but can be tough on your body in excess. This is why it's important that you focus on real foods that have high amounts of antioxidants. Some of your best choices, and the type of foods I personally eat extensively when I'm training hard, include dark leafy greens like spinach, kale, bok choy, and mustard greens, dark berries like blueberries and blackberries, and antioxidant-rich spices like curry and turmeric. Number 2, avoid stress. Running is already stressful to your body, so be careful not to introduce other stressors like multiple cups of coffee or frequent use of energy drinks, a fast-paced lifestyle with late nights and early mornings, or exposure to high amounts of pollutions and body care or household chemicals. Number 3, care for your joints. Expose your joints to a wide variety of running surfaces and terrains, and avoid only exercising in one plane of motion, such as having your only form of exercise be the front-to-back running motion. Instead, choose side-to-side motions like tennis, basketball, or soccer, and attempt to address a wide range of musculature with your exercise patterns. Also, include sports as frequently as possible and try to schedule at least a few workouts in which you substitute running with an elliptical trainer or water running. Number 4, don't calorically compensate. Many high-volume exercisers use exercise as an excuse to eat lots of junk food or just to overeat in general, especially when it comes to carbohydrates. So try to write down and keep track of the foods that you're eating. Be careful with using too many sports drinks, gels, and powders, and don't think of exercise as an excuse to eat more. Number 5, identify any addictions. Consistent exercise causes your body to produce endorphins, which are hormones secreted by your pituitary gland to block pain, decrease anxiety, and create feelings of euphoric happiness. But endorphins are chemically similar to the drug morphine, and so exercise can be psychologically addictive. For regular exercisers, reducing or stopping exercise suddenly, or even missing one single workout, can result in depression, stress, and anxiety, and this can lead you down the long road to over-exercising. So try to include at least one day per week in which you don't exercise, or your exercise involves no structure, like playing a new sport. If your running ever begins to feel like a job, then switch to a new form of exercise, and also find alternate ways to satisfy your brain's cravings, including things like cooking, wine tasting, music, new books, social events, and relationships. Whether you're running extensively or engaging in any other form of heavy or hard physical activity, these tips can help you ensure that your body is actually benefiting from the exercise and not simply being exposed to a constant cycle of breakdown and damage. And if you need other running tips, be sure to check out my articles over at getfitguy.quickanddirtytips.com about how to run faster and how to start running. And if you have more questions about whether running is good for you or your own tips about running, then share them over at the facebook.com/getfitguy page. And just in case you need one more URL to visit, be sure to check out my brand new book over at getfitguy.com. And until next time, this is Ben Greenfield, the Get Fit Guy, asking you, what are you waiting for? Go get fit.